Hey, film friends, I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film, a podcast where we break down movies, occasionally with some of my closest friends and special guests. Look, by now, we all know the Mission Impossible formula. Tom Cruise does something that makes us fear for his 63-year-old life just watching it. A mask gets ripped off, and the fate of the world is once again hanging by a USB drive. Dead Reckoning Part 2. Oh, sorry. Final Reckoning. Sorry, I must have had a little naming mishap there. Oh, wait, that was the studios. Okay. It follows that recipe to the letter. But, guys, does it still work? Or is this the moment when the franchise finally goes off the tracks? Let's dig in before Cruise base jumps off something else. This is Christopher McQuarrie's Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for coming back. It's been a minute, right? But it's time. We're going to get some summer movies. We're going to get off the ground here. We're going to start churning out some episodes, okay? I don't have Lilo and Stitch in the back pocket yet, but I was out with my kids watching Final Reckoning. I've got some thoughts. I was challenged by some viewers to make this a little more snappy, a little more succinct. So what we're going to do, I've got just a real quick thing on plot, real quick thing of themes, and then let's talk pros and cons, summarize it, put a bow on it, give you a score, and send you on your merry way, okay? One of the pros and cons sections will be longer than the other, okay? Just going to tell you that. I didn't even write anything down for the plot. We're going to do it right here on the spot together. Are you ready? Okay, so what is this movie about, Final Reckoning? Okay, here we go. Off the cuff, off the dome. Bad AI called the Entity. Yeah, called the Entity. Its goal, beyond chaos, is to grab hold of all of the weapon stores of all the 8 major nations in the world and essentially get control of them and cause crossfiring and start a nuclear holocaust, right? But thank God our guy, our sexagenarian Thomas Mapother IV, otherwise known as Tom Cruise, he has a special unit who can fix it. Right? And all we need to do is go to the very bottom of the ocean. No, I think it's the Bering Sea. And we're going to find the Sevastopol, which is a Russian sub, which we're going to use a cruciform key to unlock. And then we're going to get inside and we're going to find this drive that's the source code of the Entity. And then we're going to attach it to a poison pill made by the great Luther Ving-Rhames. We love you. And then what's going to happen is we can get this guy and we're going to trap him in a room where he thinks he's safe, but he's not, even though he's smarter than everyone else and knows every outcome of every solution ever. And then we'll do a little bait and switch, yada, 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 and we win. Okay, that's the plot. Boom. Ready? I didn't even spoil anything. You're going to know that in the first 20 minutes, but that's the plot. Themes. All right, look, the MI themes are not the greatest thing in the world. What are we talking about here? The poison pills, successful execution. It's going to underscore the film's themes like sacrifice, resilience, teamwork, unity, the relentless pursuit of safeguarding humanity against formidable threats, right? That's the thematic stuff. But really, the themes here are like, hey, I'm Tom, and I save movies, and I'm McQuarrie, and I do his bidding, and we work together to make great stunts. That's really like the meta themes of what all these movies are about. And I will give him credit for 8 movies running. They've been pretty successful with that. So towards that end, instead of getting lost in the weeds of like cinematography and below the line stuff, the only thing, I mean, look, is the sound design good? Yeah. Does it look good? Yeah. But what I would say is the reason it looks good is because of the stunt choreography, because this is really Tom Cruise doing these things, right? To some degree or another, there are parts in all of those movies that make you go, how the hell did they do that? And most of the time, the answer is they actually did it. The dude actually got on a plane. The dude actually jumped off a cliff with a motorcycle, all those sorts of things. So that's what I'm going to highlight. All right, let's get to pros and cons. So the pros, I would say, are, let me start with people. Tramell Tillman. I'm a Severance guy. Are you a Severance guy or gal? If you're not, what's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I was excited to see Milchek in this. But the coolest thing about it is that in that whole scene with Tillman in the sub, the film just kind of comes alive. And And I think what I want to say is that is when MI is operating in its wheelhouse, when it has a plan that is absurd, but not too absurd, and it has stakes which are real, but not too real, and that all of this thing is humming along with great humor. I mean, Simon Pegg is crushing it as Benji, and Luther is giving us those deadpan lines that really work well, and, you know, all of those things that make this thing move and make it not feel long and make it feel great are based on humor and not just having a good time, you know, just playing in the sandbox and not taking ourselves far too seriously. When Tremel Tillman is on the scene, he does that, okay? And I would also say that I think there are lots of other characters on the fringes of this movie that are doing similar things. I mean, Rolf Saxon, in the first hour of this movie, there's this thing where they're trying to tie Final Reckoning back to previous stuff in the franchise. I mostly feel like that does not work great, if I'm being honest with you guys. But Rolf Saxon as William Donlow from the original, the Brian De Palma original in 96, that did work for me. And honestly, like I said, some of the other character actors on the fringes here are terrific. Some of them are not, Hannah Waddingham, but a lot of them are. Katie O'Brien is great. Palm Clementif is tremendous throughout. And she adds, like I was saying, the sorely needed touches of humor and we just don't take things all that seriously. So those are pros. The other biggest thing is, like, look, guys, the biplane sequence is just unreal, man. Red and yellow planes up in the sky somewhere in South Africa. It's what Cruise is clearly physically doing in that sequence is unreal. I mean, the way the wind is blowing the skin on his face, it's very clear. Yeah, I don't know exactly how they pulled it off, but it's very clear that this dude is actually up in the sky doing these types of things. And I think that alone this is why we go to the movies. So if you're just like, shut up, Nick, I wanted a reason to go to the movies, and I'll sit through the 2.5 hours and I grab the popcorn and just show me some shit I could not believe actually happened on screen. This movie has some of that. It has some of that. To a lesser degree with the sub sequence in the second hour, and absolutely with the bipolar the biplane sequence in the third hour, in the final act, in the 40 minutes, which is by far, in my opinion, the best part of the film. So, see, I didn't crap on it, but I do have some cons. So look, if you wanted the too long didn't read, I've only got 5 minutes. Nick, I've only got a minute. Tell me about this movie. I would say that this film is too long and far too self-serious. That would be my dig on this movie. And not since the second film have we seen this kind of just miscalculation tonally. So, okay, let's talk about it being too long briefly here. You know, not only did they look, guys, it's pretty clear here. If you look at the runtimes of the first 6 films, if you look at the way that this went down and how it got split into 2 movies, you know, I think this was originally one film, okay? Which is fine. They did it with lots of other things. Harry Potter. Did they do it with the Hobbit movies? No. There's other franchises that they do this sort of thing with. But the issue here is not only did they divide one movie into 2, but they stretched the second movie to like 1 billion hours. And again, is that okay? Well, it depends on your tone and what you're actually accomplishing. And did it need to happen? This movie is 2 hours and 50 minutes, give or take. And the first hour is so much, I heard one podcast call it throat clearing. You know, I would just describe it as, I guess, exposition, intro, rising action. But the problem with the rising action is there's no rising action. The first hour is just like cut to flashback sequences and tying it up. And, oh, this guy was connected to Abrams' third film, and that guy was connected to, and it's like, dude, cut all that flashback stuff out. Which, by the way, some of it isn't even cohesive. Like the flashbacks built around this major sequence in the first hour with Luther, which if you've seen it, you'll know, they're not even like coherent. One time Luther's here, the next time he's here. Cut all of that out, and you've got a 2-hour film, maybe 2:10. And I think it's just a much better movie. It's a much better movie. We'll come back to this in a second. Too self-serious. Okay. What I mean by that is, I don't know, like I just got done saying it, guys. Like, when this movie is humming, what's happening? What's happening, right? Benji is comic relief. Haley Atwell is a spitfire. Remember the car scene in Dead Reckoning? What happened to Haley Atwell in this movie? Here she's like this fawning, obsequious princess. She's laying in the decompression chamber, whatever you call it, with Cruz. Like, it's just like Cruz hero worship stuff. And like, it's so much less appealing. There's so much less of like the rat-a-tat dialogue. And all of these characters are just different. I mean, even Isai Morales, the Gabriel character, he goes from, sort of maniacal or but like driven with a scheme and a plan built around the entity and what he thinks is happening to, like this sort of caricatured Bond villain. Like, I don't totally get that. And so, like I'm saying, the entire thing is just unnecessarily hagiographic. So in other words, it's like Macquarie and Cruz were like, this is our last movie. We have to make this epic, like grab people by the throat and say, like, shake them and be like, this is so serious, guys, just dial in. And like, the problem with that is that in so doing, in other words, in trying to make something epic and great, they actually drain the movie of the things that made the whole franchise great in the first place. Like, the movie always has to be winking and knowing, or it's patently absurd. And the plot in this movie is bonkers. And of course, you're like, Nick, are you seriously sitting there with like a cup of tea and your pinky up being like, this plot is absurd? It's a frickin' Mission Impossible movie. It has the word impossible in it. Yes, I get that. Totally get it. Totally get it. But guys, the president's plan... All right, if you don't want to hear anything about it, skip forward 30 seconds. The president's plan is, wait for it, to bomb all the other nations, right, if Cruz fails. And then an American city, too, for what? Like, what? Like, in good faith? Like, hey, guys, we killed you and us. Now it's all better. Or like his plan to dive down into the deep is cool, but like we're talking about decompression and the bends and all this sort of stuff. The dude sheds himself into everything but boxer briefs and comes back up with nothing on. And then, oh yeah, the decompression chamber. Maybe that's not what you call it, but you get the point. That'll save him. Like, what? What? Like, what? What? What are we doing, guys? I come on. Like, I can suspend disbelief that you're driving around in like a Mini Coupe in Rome, like buckled together at Haley Atwell. I can even put you on the side of a plane or fighting Henry Cavill in a helicopter or solo jump. Like, all of the helio jumps, like all of those things are preposterous, but they are somehow, in the way that they're delivered, believable. And this one just isn't. It wants you to take it so gosh darn seriously that we begin to, and then when we do, we find the plot utterly lacking. So that's one last thing I'll say about this. There are two pieces of property, one movie, one show that I thought of when I was watching this, and neither in a good way. One is Return of the King. Return of the King has like 58 endings. You can criticize them if you'd like. I was crying through all of them. I found them incredibly powerful about the magnanimity of the human spirit. But like, this is a fantasy epic, guys. Those were there from the beginning. And I mean, gosh, like the end of Fellowship is Samwise Gamgee rushing into the river because he's not going to let Frodo die. Like, I'm crying, watching Fellowship. That's there from the whole time. It's baked in. The humor, it's a fantastical epic. Like, so you can do that with Return of the King. You can't do that kind of hagiographic bullcrap with this movie. Or if you're it's got to be way more rat-a-tat. It's got to be like Benji just cracking one-liners and Haley like being like, will she or won't she? And, like you want to be close to Cruz, but you don't want to kiss. I mean, it's all just weird. And I just can't get there. The other one is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, which is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen, but towards the end completely fumbles the ball as it's coming home, right? The writers get off the strike and it loses its way. And I think that this movie, when you tie it to the last movie and the way that they fumbled the timing and writing and production, I'm sorry, I'm talking with my hands a lot, I'm passionate. it loses its juice. And in so doing, what happens is you end up with like a lot of hours of TV, but that aren't nearly as like nestled and well told. So that's my stuff. Okay. So yeah, the Final Reckoning, in conclusion, it might not be the best mission, but it is still a damn fun one. And I know I just said a lot of negative stuff, but Cruise is still our guy running around everywhere. The stunts are absolutely wild. The film is populated with some awesome side talent. It is still worth your while to see it. And my score will reflect that. I just think it gets a little too high on its own supply, and in trying to make an epic, loses a little of its savory flavor, which is to cross an analogy, but you get the point. So, final score, I gave Mission Impossible, and you're going to be like, Nick, did you just spend 10 minutes criticizing this? I gave Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, 3.5 out of 5 stars. That may go down on subsequent watches. I can tell you for a fact that is the absolute ceiling. It is not going up. It may creep down to 3. It's not going up towards 4. But right now, as I've been processing and thinking about the more impressive parts, it's somewhere between 3 and 3.5. We'll stay with 3.5. Guys, let me know your MI rankings of all the movies in the comments. And if you want to see mine or have an episode where I do that, let me know and I'll do it. But if this is really the beginning of the end, at least it's going out with a bang and a plane crash and a submarine dive. And you get it. Okay. Like and subscribe for more stuff. I'd love to hear your comments as always. Until next time, I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.